Hello, everyone. Apologies for the little delay. We had some technical issues, but I'd like to welcome you to today's session on unlocking hidden benefits, lesser known tax credits, and recent RDSP changes. Before we begin today's session, I would like to acknowledge that I am joining you from Gatineau, the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. I recognize and honor their deep connection to this land, as well as the lands where each of you are joining from. The map you see here before you reflects the many Indigenous nations whose territories span across what we now call Canada. We honor them all, past and present, and commit ourselves to learning from and respecting their histories and cultures. The Pathway to Benefits program is a free national initiative led by Mood Disorders Society of Canada to help Canadians with disabilities and their families access the financial supports they are entitled to, but too often miss out on. Pathway to Benefits is funded by the Government of Canada's Disability Benefit Navigation Program. Therefore, the views expressed here today are not necessarily representative of the views of the Government of Canada. Briefly, I'll introduce myself. My name is Diana Vince, Associate National Executive Director at Mood Disorders Society of Canada. I will pass it along now to my colleague and our guest speaker to briefly introduce themselves. Gabby, go ahead.
Hello, guys. My name is Gabby, and I'm the National Benefit Navigator with MDSC. And it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Awesome. Binyamin.
Hi guys, this is Binyamin Bodner. I'm an investment fund advisor with Desjardins with expert knowledge with these lesser known benefits that people should be taking advantage of. And I'll have a slide about myself later.
All right. So as we are getting started, please know that your microphones are muted and the session is being recorded. We invite you to use the Q&A function to submit any questions that you may have, and we'll address them towards the end of the session. Please do not disclose any personal health information when asking any questions. The chat function is disabled. However, there are going to be some links that will be shared via the chat. And a recording of this session, along with past recordings of our previous sessions, will be shared. So the recording for this one will be shared with all registrants following the session within about a week or so. We invite you to check out our website at benefitspathway.ca to find the previous recordings. So today we are going to go over who we are at Mood Disorders Society of Canada for those joining that don't know us, our services at Pathway to Benefits, and then we'll jump right into it with Binyamin. So who is MDSC? We're a national non-for-profit organization dedicated to improve the quality of life for people affected by mental health issues through advocacy, education, and support. We provide education and awareness about mood disorders to the public, healthcare professionals, and policymakers, offer support and resources for individuals living with mood disorders and their families, all while we do advocate for improved mental health services and policies across Canada and promote research and innovation related to mood disorders. I will hand it over to my colleague Gabby just to briefly go over what is Pathway to Benefits.
All right. Thank you, Diana. All right, guys. Pathway to Benefit is a national initiative by MDSC that supports Canadians with disabilities and their families in applying for various disability benefits, including the Disability Tax Credit, the Canada Disability Benefit, and other provincial territorial disability supports. Keep in mind the program is free, inclusive, and person-centered. So we offer one-on-one navigation support, personalized help completing applications. We also have an online resource hub available to you guys and an some easy-to-use digital tools. We also offer centralized information on disability benefits, peer and trained volunteers, also culturally informed empathic support, organizational partnerships, tools and training to assist local organizations, and at least outreach in undeserved communities.
Great. Thank you so much, Gabby, for going over with that. And without further wait, we're going to pass the baton on to Binyamin to begin the session today. Go ahead.
Sure. So next, hello guys. Like I mentioned before, my name is Binyamin Bodner. I am an investment professional at Desjardins, and I have an expertise with these, as I wrote here, and I can't say it better, empowering long-term financial security for Canadians with disabilities. They are a unique subset with their own challenges, and they deserve the care that they deserve. And I look forward to doing that, at least for my own clients. Next. So I'm a father of two. That has to change. I just had a third baby just 9 days ago. So when I made this slide, it's been a while. I'm independent. I mentioned that because it's important to know that when you go to seek help, to make sure your advisors are independent. You don't want someone who has to use certain products that may or may not be best for you. As well, I'm an RDSP awareness educator. We'll discuss briefly why I do that on the side. And I'm actually disability tax credit approved myself. I mention that so people should know that there's no stigma in getting the help and entitlements you deserve and need. So next slide. So we have a very simple agenda and expectation today. And that is that you should leave this meeting with more knowledge than you entered. Unfortunately, there's many credits that are underused, people are very not aware of because they just don't make money by making them people aware of them. And therefore, I take the time, and we'll discuss later on why, to make sure there's awareness for it. And we're going to review 5 of them that pertain specifically to people of disabilities and their families. Some can be used once or twice in a lifetime, and some can be used every year. And therefore, the knowledge of it is sometimes can be far and few between. So if you can't use it today, keep it in mind for the future. And if you know a family member or a friend who could use it today, share it on, because knowledge is power, and we have to share the knowledge. So I'm going to briefly touch on the first credit I'm going to talk about. This can be used by a broad range of people, and that's the Canada Caregiver Credit. Unfortunately underused, and that is an individual who's taking care of someone who has the disability tax credit can get credit toward their taxes. They're working harder than the average Canadian. On top of their regular job or regular responsibilities and duties, they're taking care of someone who can be seriously challenged. And in recognition of that, and to level the playing field, the government has created the Canada Caregiver Credit. So if someone on this call, or someone on this call who knows someone who's a caregiver of someone who's disabled, make sure they reach out to their accountant for more details about the Canada Caregiver Credit. Next slide. The next one is a little bit less used and therefore unfortunately less known and severely underused, and it's the multi-generational home renovation tax credit. As people age, they move into their children, and many times when they're older, they're disabled. Or if someone has family, I believe this is limited to family for abuse purposes, but so if someone within the family is disabled and they want to live somewhat independently, so what people will do is they'll make a little unit for them. That's an additional cost. To level the playing field, there is a credit specifically for people who make these little units. There are certain limitations, so remember to discuss it with your accountant. But if someone makes a dwelling that is there for someone who's disabled, there are tax credits for it. And that's money back to your pockets to level the playing field. And if you don't use it, you will lose it. So remember to go to your trusted financial professionals, whether it's your accountants, and make sure that if you or someone you know who's making a renovation for a unit for someone that's disabled, take advantage of this credit, because only you can do it for yourself. Let's go to the next one. I used to give numbers for the details of how much money there is, but it changes so often that I just make sure you're just aware that it exists and you just go to your professional. This one actually is also, again, underused, and thankfully many people who are challenged and have their disabilities, they want to still be independent. And I love to see someone who has a challenge and still makes a life for themselves. And whether it's going to work with their crutches, or whether it's a service dog, or whether it's using special devices to make them be productive. It's the most beautiful thing, because the best thing that someone can do is be independent. But again, they have a challenge. They have an additional cost when it comes to taking care of themselves, to be gainfully employed, and or to go study. So the disability supports deduction is there to assist people that have a disability. This is only for those with the disability who go to work or go to school, to deduct from their income the cost of the disability supports, whether it's a service dog, whether it's a wheelchair, whatever it is. The support is there, use it. So we'll go to the next slide. This is a new credit. Officially, it's supposed to be automatic, so we don't have to talk about it. But unfortunately, I have seen clients where in a random audit, I constantly audit clients to ensure they're taking advantage of the credit, which is why we do these meetings. So we'll discuss it, and then if someone has the disability tax credit, which we will touch on the next slide, you should reach out to your accountant or to the person who helped you file for the disability tax credit. And I believe mood disorder ensures people do take care of this.
Yes, correct. So the Pathway to Benefits program,
Yes, yeah.
we
I love
predominantly
I
help
love this such
support.
a
Yeah, we support people with the Canada Disability Benefit along with the disability tax credit as well.
right. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yes. So good. So yeah. So let's just go back for a moment just to review it. May as well. So I want to go back. Yeah. So the Canada Disability Benefit it gives a payment of up to $200. It has been adjusted up to $204 a month, depending on income. Again, if you have the disability tax credit, which we will be touching on later on, make sure, double check that you're getting these checks or direct deposits. Children who have the disability tax credit get it for sure automatic. They should be payments of up to $250. Next slide. Good. This is the mother of all tax credits. That's how we call it in the industry. The disability tax credit. Again, anyone who's disabled, just file. Just give a file for the disability tax credit. There's no penalty for filing. At worst, you get what's it called, rejected. I've had too many people where they were timid. They didn't want to file because I'm not disabled. So I went to the length to file for my own thing. I have anxiety, just so everyone knows, just the idea, and it could be a hidden disability. But just file. If you have a challenge, file. It's there to help you. So here's a few examples. Again, mood disorders will help you. Reach out to them. And it's important to reach out to mood disorders because there are facilitators that charge a lot of money. And that's not right. In fact, if you see on the right of the slide, I actually created my own nonprofit that does the filing. But again, if you're with mood disorders, stick with them. They're better, they're broader, they're bigger, and they just make sure that you do not pay a penny for it. There are people who will help you. So if you have challenges with walking, for example, I had a client, he had one foot a little bit bigger than the other foot. He couldn't walk more than 150 meters without an aid. He got approved. Took 15 minutes to do the form and 4 weeks to get approved. Unfortunately, we caught it when he was like in his 50s. Don't wait. There's no reason to have to wait. Mental functions. People are, after COVID, it's been a disaster, the mental health with our country. And whether it's because of lockdowns or whatever it was, if you have whether it's OCD, anxiety, ADHD, any letter that the doctor puts on you, and even if you're undiagnosed, file, as well as dressing, feeding, eliminating, hearing. Hearing is something that people don't always understand. People think you have to be deaf. That's not necessarily true. If people have to constantly ask you what, so you can repeat yourself, that may be approvable for the disability tax credits. Life sustaining therapy, that's a big one. less so for the mood disorders area, but it's a type 1 diabetes. I make sure to mention it because I've seen so many people that didn't even know that. Because people with type 1 diabetes, they consider themselves normal, but always one treatment away from death. And the government therefore recognized it and gave them approval for the disability tax credit. So again, make sure you file for it. People will help you and do not pay. I do also want to mention that there's statistics regarding other accounts, but the amount of people that take the disability tax credit is unfortunately too little. I believe hearing numbers 30%. That means if you see someone in a wheelchair, blind, or whatever challenge people can face, there's a 60% chance that they're not taking advantage of it. So if you're in the right environment and you're comfortable or it's appropriate, make sure those around you who have challenges are aware of it. Again, where appropriate. Next slide.
And of course, not to
Yeah.
mention all of the disabilities that are invisible, right? Some of them that we don't see necessarily to the blind eye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Good. Here's where we're going to spend a lot of time on because here I have data on how underutilized this is, and it's a personal pain point because I see the benefits clients get from this, and it's a shame. Hard stop. So let's next slide. So there is data. We know that 34% of people who have the disability tax credit, which is already underutilized, only 34% of people go on and open the registered disability savings plan. The question is why? We wanted to know. So we dug deeper. Let's go to the next slide. And here's the top barriers that people have among non-users. 46% of people believe didn't open it because they didn't have funds to contribute. So why should I open a registered disability savings plan if I have no savings to deposit? That's a fair argument, but we will have to address it later on. 29% needed more information. To be blunt, the registered disability savings plan is the hardest account that exists in terms of rules, in terms of restrictions, in terms of knowledge and barriers to be involved with it. Therefore, it's important to go to professionals. And they exist. So those who needed more information, just go into a bank. Go to a financial professional. They would love to help you. So that's not a real reason not to get help. 50% find it too complicated. And that's true. I second that. It is very complicated. But that's why people like me exist. People like me exist to help you with these complicated accounts. But what's shocking is that we have over 60% of people that are not opening up this account for reasons that shouldn't exist. Lack of funds is not a reason not to open it. We will see why later on. And neither is needing more information or finding it too complicating a reason not to open it up, because professionals exist. And therefore, we're going to spend a little bit of time on this, and then hopefully everyone can leave here better educated than when they came in. Next slide. I also want to mention that the previous statistics we saw was from Statistics Canada. It was not from an industry provider, so there's no bias in anything. It's simply the government trying to find out how people are using the programs. So good. What is the Registered Disability Savings Plan? So in short, it's access to $90,000 in grants and matches. $70,000 the government will deposit based on deposits you make, based on income. We will discuss that shortly. $20,000 is deposited based on income, but no deposits are necessary. And this is why not opening the account because of lack of funds is not a reason. It is possible to make money. All you need is to open the accounts and get the help you need. There should be no cost with opening an RDSP. There is There should be or can be no cost with maintaining an RDSP. My clients, the ones I use, have a nominal fee of $50 a year because, again, being independent, I like having independence. So going to a firm that doesn't sell the mutual fund has to make their money somewhere else. But that's just a choice a client makes. You can 100% get an RDSP free of charge. So there should be no reason not to open one up. We'll discuss exactly why later on. So next slide.
Okay.
Good. We're going to start with the grants. So families earning over $114,000, they will receive under $114,000. I guess the over and below is below. Is a mistake. Families earning under $114,000 can get between a 3-time and 2-time match on their deposits. I'm not aware of another program out there that will match your money 300%. The first $500 of deposits will be matched 3 times. So that $500 will become $2,000. The next $1,500 will be matched twice, giving you $3,000 in additional deposits. You can claim with extra deposits for missed years if your disability is backtracked from previous years. But again, the CRA does send out reminders every February on advice how to maximize your RDSP, but I prefer that you really speak to a person who can help you make certain calculations and assumptions. Because like I mentioned before, it's a very complex account. Now, families earning above $114,000, even though they're considered high income, they can still have a lot of challenges. So the government will still match their deposits 1 time. So for every $1,000 they deposit every year, they will get matched with an additional $1,000. These matches will go on until you exhaust the total of $70,000. That's a ton of money to help you set up your nest egg. And if you don't use it, you will lose it. I've had many clients who, unfortunately, when we caught them for the disability tax credit, they were above the age of 49. These grants end at 49. Well, if you're above 49 and on this call, you should still open the registered disability savings plan because there's an additional benefit on top of the grant, and that's called tax deferral. If you make deposits into the RDSP, you can defer the taxes of the growth later on. Again, this should be a discussion with your accountant and financial professional. But Binyamin, I don't have any money to deposit. What should I do? Well, okay, there's free money just for opening up the account because unfortunately people with disabilities and challenges have an uneven playing field. And to help that out so they don't become dependent on their communities and families, the government will deposit up to $20,000 in grants with no deposits required. The government calls it bonds. I don't know why. It's not bonds, it's a grant deposit. You can invest it in any way you want. Families earning below $31,500, these numbers change every year. It's adjusted to inflation. You get the full $1,000. I've had a client that had no income and was autistic, and so he was deemed autistic from birth. So he opened the account and got $10,000 up front because, yes, the government backtracks and looks at your income over the last 10 years, maximum 10 years, or from when your disability was considered a disability. And therefore, you can get a max of $10,000, $11,000 up front. They're very happy. If you earn between $31,500 and $48,500, you get a prorated rate of any number between $1,000 and 0. If you earn above $48,000, you get no bonds. That does not mean that if your income is above $48,000 that you should not open the RDSP, because we can't control how much our income will be any given year. Dealing with many people, I've had people who were fired or their disability made them totally unable to work. And if they wouldn't have had the RDSP open, they wouldn't have gotten the grants. The RDSP has to be open in order for the CRA to have the authority to look at your records and your income to make these deposits. In fact, the CRA changed the words, the name of the tax returns and the tax filings from the tax filing to the tax and benefits filing. The filings are there to ensure we take the benefits we need and are entitled to. As well, families that have earned more than $48,500 have opened it up for their children, because when the child reaches 18 and 20, depending when they file taxes, again, it's a talk with your accountant. But the minute the child assumes responsibility for their own income, and therefore it's effectively zero, they get the grants automatically. Unfortunately, I've had families that, for whatever the reason, they never opened the RDSP. By the time I caught up with them, it's been 10 years later. And that's money that could have grown, and that's a shame. Remember, if you don't use it, you will lose it. Let's move on. Next slide. So I did review some of the things here, but we'll just review it again. They're critical. Information comes from tax filing. So even if you earn no income, make sure you file your tax and benefits filing. I've had people that have never filed taxes because they never earned income. Well, how is the CRA supposed to know that you earn no income? They're not listening into your phone, right? And hopefully not reading our emails. So make sure you file, it's called a nil report. Make sure that everyone that's not working and is over 18 is 16 is filing tax reports. You can claim up to 10 years retroactive. So if you have a disability, another sad story, there was someone who kept on pushing me off. He was worried that I'm going to take money for deposits. By the time we got to him and he found out that there's free money, it's been a few years later. Well, they only backtrack up to 10 years. So every year you wait is a year potentially of lost grants. Don't wait. The limit is up to $20,000. The earlier you get it, the faster and longer it can grow. And thankfully, if your income is above the threshold, unused entitlement carries forward. There's nothing to lose. Just have the account open and pray that it comes in. I call it the bittersweet grant because I hope your income is above $48,000. But if not, you get a grant. Next slide. Binyamin, how do I take out my money? That's a good question. So the point of the Registered Disability Savings Plan is to assist people with challenges and disabilities with their retirement. They don't want to become a burden on anyone. It's not fun. So to help with that, the government has created the RDSP. So yes, the money is yours and you can take it out. How? There are 3 ways you can take out the money. The first way is the traditional way. You're 60. You want to retire. At age 60, you have to activate a lifetime disability assistance payment in which you, I guess, trigger it. It should be automatic. And the RDSP transfers into an annuity style program where you'll be receiving checks monthly, annually, up to you, I believe. And that should assist you with your retirement. That means not being forced to go to work, not being forced to depend on people if you don't have to. This is a successful RDSP. But Binyamin, I need money now, whether it's a surgery I need to do, or I need to renovate my home because I need to input disability devices, or whatever it is. You don't have to wait until 60. You can take it out before as well. It's called the Disability Assistant Payments. But there's a key restriction. You have to wait 10 years from when the last deposit was made. And this is another reason why you should open the RDSP as soon as possible. Because if you wait 4 years to open up the RDSP and get the grants, well, you have to wait another 4 years before you take out that money. You can't take it out even beforehand, but it's punitive. For every dollar you take out, you have to give up $3 in grants. It almost destroys the RDSP and the benefits it had for the person. It's not an option. The third way to take it out without penalty is if someone, God forbid, had a shortened lifespan. I believe it's 5 years. So, God forbid, someone gets extreme cancer or suffers a severe heart attack. They have expenses now. They can't wait until they're 60, they're 30. So there are ways to take out the money earlier. I think it's around $10,000 a year. Thankfully, I never had to deal with it. I usually leave these worst case scenarios to deal with when they occur. I like to hope no one ever has to die early for a shortened life expectancy. But I know it exists, and I'm there to help my clients, as well as your other trusted financial advisors, should God forbid these circumstances happen. But just remember, in short, there are ways to take out the money. It has to be more than preferably 10 years after you had a grant deposited. But if you need the money for a shortened life expectancy, it's there. Next slide, please.
I think
Awesome.
we're at the Q&A period of the session today. Binyamin, thank you so much for it's a very comprehensive presentation that you did for us today. Definitely something that a lot of people, what really stayed with me is, you repeating, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's so important for people to really understand that. I do have the Q&A open. I don't see any. There was one question that I was able to answer to provide a link of where all the recordings are on our website, along with where the recording of this session will be placed as well. So I don't see any questions. Are there any? I was wondering, are there any questions that you I know you gave a couple of examples, the usual ones that you'll get from people, but is there something that really comes back more often than not from people that are applying or trying to apply or deciding?
So good questions. I would say the biggest challenge people have that I find is those that are unsure if they're considered disabled. And the biggest challenge I see are the doctors. So the doctors are very timid because they want to protect their license. So they're very scared of what they think is fraud and abuse. But doctors are not financial professionals. They're doctors, right? You don't come to me if you need a medical assistance, right? You'll come to me for financial advice. So I do try to counsel doctors with specifically the rules, and I do remind them that the program is there for people that have challenges. And if they have challenges, you have to fill out the form. And if you feel it's accurate, you sign it. You don't take responsibility that they are approved or not. Some doctors try to say, well, if I don't, according to my understanding, you will not be approved. I keep on reminding them there are adjudicators at the CRA. It's their job, but it's your job to tell them that it's accurate, not that
Yeah.
they're approved or not. So if
And
you're a
a good
doctor, yeah,
description, right, Benjamin? A good description of what it is that impairs a person's day to day, as opposed to just writing, a diagnosis on the paper. I think from what we
yes,
have heard from a lot of
yes.
people that contact us, that's predominantly what can make and break really an approval or versus a denial. So there are a couple of questions that have come in. Um,
You want me to read them out?
I'll let Gabby, yeah, I'll let Gabby take
Okay.
over.
First question from Dennis Boss. She said, can a caregiver claim the unused DTC and also the Canada Caregiver Credit?
Yes, I didn't touch it because it's very complex. The Canada caregiver, yes, but the other thing she mentioned, very good question. I'm happy she mentioned it. Again, I tried to keep it with information that I think will not leave them confounded. But yes, if someone has the disability tax credit and they don't need it, they don't have the income, they can pass it on to a caregiver. So
Right.
what you should take out is if you know someone with a disability tax credit and they don't need the credit, reach out. You can get it possibly. Good question. Thank you, Dennis.
And we have a second question from Maria. She said, are there simple texts we can look at and show our doctors to adapt them to our needs?
I wanna briefly, before Binyamin, you jump into this, I want to answer this one because I feel that there is a certain checklist and guideline that we provide. Unfortunately, we cannot provide the exact, wording, of course, because it really has to be of the words. So there are some guides and some checklists available on our website. But Benjamin, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yes, yes. I would say just listen to the instructions. The form says exactly what you should do, and it looks complicating, but it's not. But if you do think it's complicating, reach out to Mood Disorders. Just listen. The form says what you should do. Don't do anything else. Don't go to it looking at it like this is crazy big. Just take it step by step. If you need days to fill it out, take the time. It's free. It doesn't cost money. Just listen to the instructions, and like what Deanna said, don't focus on the diagnosis. The CRA doesn't care. Dead people also have diagnoses. It doesn't mean anything. They care about the challenge. They're here to help people that have challenges. And I use the word challenge because their disability is wrong. You don't have to be disabled. You have to have a challenge. The CRA likes to say it as takes things 3 times longer or harder than a regular person. But that's very subjective. So as long
Yeah.
as you have any challenge, hard to walk, hard to talk, hard to hear, hard to adjust. For example, myself, coming on this call is not easy. I have anxiety. I try to treat it. But I do this because I have to. But I have to work on coming on these calls. But you do it because it's right, but it's challenging. The CRA will help such individuals. So the main thing is just write how, like Deanna said, write it out how it is. Write it out what your challenges are. Just write it out as you would speak to a friend. Adjudicators are there to help. Next question.
Next question from Deborah. She said, does the RDSP have beneficiaries assigned by the disabled person in case of death?
Good question. Good question. I believe the RDSP has to go to the estates. That's more, I don't want to throw in the lawyer here, but I believe it has to go to the estates. So don't overcomplicate it. Put it for, just make the beneficiary the DTC individual and leave it at that for now. Unless you're going through estate planning with a lawyer, ask your financial professional. Yeah.
This one
Next question,
from
sorry.
Marilyn. If it has been over 10 years since making a deposit in a Canada Disability Saving Bonds and a person wants to take disability assisted payments, do you have to pay back the government the grants?
Good question. I like reviewing. So yeah, if it has been 10 years since you got the last grant, the word is grants. So in this individual, so suppose they only got these bonds, which are grants without deposits, 10 years ago, and there has been no other grants since then, they can take out the money. But if there has been other grants deposited, even if it wasn't bonds, they have to wait additional 10 years. I hope that was clear.
Okay, next question from Siet. Hi, my son is a student and receiving disability benefit of around 12,500 a year. Approximately how much he should contribute to his RDSP to get the maximum government grants and benefits?
The CRA should send you a letter every February detailing how much you should put in. There are many calculations involved, so rely on the CRA as your primary resource, your advisor as secondary. Having said that, if he's going to school, make sure he's taking advantage of the disability supports deduction. Reach out to your accountant to make sure that whatever he's using, like I mentioned before, if he's using any assistance in going to school because of his disability, write it off yours or his taxes. I think, his taxes if he has income. Next.
All right, so that's all the questions for now. And I just wanted to remind you guys, I included two links in the chat. One is for the feedback survey, and the other one is for our next session. Please take some time to fill it out. Thank you.
I do see the one, there's another one from about my son is a student and receiving, did we covered that
Oh,
one?
yeah,
Yes,
that's
we
the one I
covered that.
just read.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, I think those are all the questions. I do see, yes, Maria, I understand that you're looking yeah, to avoid some of the pitfalls and the language, etc. Feel free to give us a call though, and we can go over this and we can also email you if you call us in and give us your email. We can send you some of that checklist where you're able to follow a little bit some of the steps and we give guidance about the language to use without exactly using, hey, copy and paste this sentence, it'll work. So please feel free to give us a call. I'd like to thank our guest speaker for joining us today, as well as all of you for joining us for today's session. A recording of this session will be shared with everyone who registered that couldn't make it in roughly about a week, and it'll be posted up on our website as well. Um, as Gabby said, the feedback survey has been shared with you through the chat. Please fill that out. We love to see what it is that you like about our sessions, where we can improve. And we'd like to invite you to join our next session called Set the Tone, which will be taking place on September 9th with a guest speaker from one of our partners at Badge of Life Canada. So once again, thank you so much. Please visit our website at benefitspathway.ca or feel free to contact us at 1-888-975-9990 or email us at info@benefitspathway.ca. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.